So wait, what, Rich?
What?
I'm just saying my name. I said I was here.
I know, but it hadn't started yet.
No, it's live right now.
Okay, good.
All right,
Okay,
Hannah Arnold's
Rich
here.
Behuner's here.
Hannah Arnold's here.
Nicole Anderson's here.
Mariah Michaelis.
Mandy
Courtney
Hanson's
Hogwarts here.
All right.
All right.
Oh, and Angelina's here too.
Everybody.
So she gets included. Okay, so here are the questions, y'all. So this is taken from the Evaluating Research article. Do we all remember that article?
Vaguely. Yep.
Okay.
It's right here.
It says, perfect. So what do you think it means that people are entitled to their own opinions, but not their own facts?
These facts are stated and always true.
So wait, ask the question again.
What do you think it means that all people are entitled to their own opinions, but not to their own facts?
Ooh, I like that question.
You want to know the statement that comes to my mind when that question is asked?
What?
You'll have to. I had to think about this question or this statement for like months and years, but it goes as this: people don't know what they don't know, because when they know, they do, and to know and not to do is truly not to know. You know?
I agree, but you know, Rich, if you think about it, this is kind of what made me think about this. But I guess like a testimony, when you say I know these things are true, wouldn't that be considered fact? But yet your testimony is like an opinion. So what would that be considered?
Well, according to the opinion or fact, I think it comes down to with what you do with it, the knowledge, or the testimony, or whatever statistic is in front of you, or in other words, how you act because of what you know, or the information that you have.
Because it's like it could be a fact for you, but then when you share it to other people, it could be considered your opinion. You know?
Yep.
Weird.
Which is why we have to not check our religion at the door and respect everybody.
True that.
Mm-hmm. I also think it's how some people word their fact. Because you can have someone be like telling you this fact, like we were saying, like the church is true, but how they word it to somebody else could say like their own opinion rather than a fact. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then Angelina did post something here, and it says, according to the instructions and research given to us for the assignment, people are entitled to their own business, but not to their own facts. Facts need to be proven and supported by proven researches and sources.
Okay. So I don't have to have my own facts because I have my own opinion. But if I want to share my opinion as fact, I better have some research to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think
she had some more. Oh.
I think a good thing to mention too is the like opinion a lot of times will be biased. So a bad research article will a lot of times skip like some of the information or some of the facts. And for it to be like good research, it needs to be all of the facts so that you know it's not just somebody's opinion, it's actually like thorough research.
Yeah, and going along with that, I took a what was it? It was like and the name escapes me. Anyways, it was we had this whole unit in a science class where we were talking about biases and how there are different forms of biases, and the way to like cut out most of the biases is to have to have multiple people go over it and multiple people and multiple views read over it. And so I think that's something to take into consideration when we're evaluating research, because biases are apparent in everything, because everyone has a bias.
Yeah. I agree.
So you say bias biases are removed with more
What-
opinions?
Removed with more opinions, because when you have different people looking at the same subject or the same paragraph, they're going to be able to edit it out more.
Okay, so
So-
here's this question then. Did y'all watch the Studio C clip?
Yeah.
Yes.
100% knew it was George Washington.
Yeah.
Does that mean they removed all of the bias, but yet they were still wrong? Sorry, I was playing devil advocate there.
You left
No,
me
I'm-
with no words.
And then we all got shut up.
True that.
Alright. Do we want to move on to the next question?
Yeah.
Rich, are you
Is there
okay to
anything
move on?
else? Courtney, Mandy, anything else from you guys?
The only thing that I thought about also was basically what you guys already said about the biased opinions and then facts. I feel like are something that's proven by research or something like that. So that's what I had.
So-
I would agree. I agree with everything you guys have said, and like you just have to remember that people can have their opinions, and you can only take that like for their word, and you can't apply that to other things because it's not fact.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of
Thank you,
a
Mandy.
closing statement of question number one then. People are allowed to have their own opinion. They're not allowed to have, I forget how the question even was now, their own facts. But the source of all truth is why we have to allow opinions to come to us so that the Spirit can testify of truths that come from all sources.
Truth.
Am I kind of getting it all together there?
Yep, that was perfect.
Yep.
Loved it.
Okay. We ready to move on?
Yeah,
Yes.
let's go.
Okay. Why can statements that begin with "I've heard" or "you know," "they say" be so dangerous when articulating your point? And I think this is for me going back to the biases thing, is the fact loses credit because you've already put in your personal opinion with it.
Right. It also shows uncertainty. I don't know. I've heard.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that too.
Yeah, it just makes me think. I don't know. It's hard to like believe people when they say, "Oh, well, I've heard so and so did it." It's like, well, I haven't heard it from the source, or where'd you get that from? Or it's just hard to believe. I feel like that's how a lot of gossip is started.
Yeah.
So you said it makes it hard to believe. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it just kind of keeps me unsteady. Like it's hard for me to believe if it's something that I don't know if it's any sentence that starts with like I've heard or they've said. I don't know. It doesn't come from the source itself. It comes from.
The third party.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Okay.
One thing
And
that sorry. One thing that I thought about with that was that the game like Telephone, and so like I feel like the information could have been misunderstood or just told wrong, so it could be incorrect or like people said, the bias thing too. So
Yeah.
that's what I thought
and
about.
then Angelina did post her answers. She said these types of statements can be dangerous because it's all based on the person's opinion and perspective. All hearsay. Only the persons that were actually present in the situation can know it all. Can know all the facts. As well, we are all human beings, and we have our own perceptions, thoughts, feelings, and even people present can say different things of how something occurred and why.
Yeah.
That reminds me, just like every time I write a paper or a research article or something, like your teacher always asks you to give the references because you can't say like studies have shown. Like you have to give you have to give the reference that there are actual studies that have shown things. So I think like it's just a bit to be something present there with your.
So if you use the statement "studies have shown," is that just simply your opinion of what the studies are, and then a reference actually makes it or turns it into a fact?
I think so. I thought it was funny and interesting how in one of the readings it says, like, if somebody does say that, you should ask them, like, okay, well, who said that? You know, like, where did that come from? And it would be so awkward, but, I mean, it'd be really interesting to see people's responses.
Oh my gosh, you would like call out so many people.
Oh, I completely agree. That's what I thought. I feel like you'd leave them in a lot of just stuttering.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have to share a story. Are you guys ready for this story?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm currently in doing some student teaching with a seminary program. And I was teaching a class a couple weeks back, and there was a conversation. One of the students made a statement, and it reminded me of a statistic that I had read in one of my classes online. But I couldn't remember where the source was. I couldn't remember what it was, and so I just, hey, you know what? This is something I learned. Here's what it was. I threw out the statistic, and the student just snapped right back. She's like, "Well, where's the reference for that?"
Oh,
and I was
dang.
like, you know what? I'll find it. It's at home. I'll get it and bring it back. It was just, but it made me think. It's like, you know what? I got to be careful about what I throw out there, because all of us want to know why. All of us want to know how. All of us want to know, as we're developing our own opinions, we like the data, we like the fact, the scientific proof, the whatever, the references, so that we can have a more sure opinion and call it fact. So don't just use statistics, because 95% of them are made up anyway.
Right.
Good point.
And you just made that up, I bet.
I did.
Way to call him out.
Yeah.
All right, are we all ready to move on to the next question?
Yeah.
Okay. So far, we have learned the importance of having doctrine in our hearts. Why do you think it is so? It is also important to have good science in our minds and in our mouths.
I think it's always good to have things to back up the doctrine, because a lot of times when you share the gospel, people ask not just the doctrine, but the facts behind it. And so I feel like if you're prepared on all levels, you'll be able to, I guess, have the Spirit with you even more, because you'll know how to answer them. Does that make sense? If you do your part, the Spirit does his part.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, yeah.
So basically,
So
you should
our
do
part
research.
is the mind.
Our part is the preparation.
Carry on. I'm just writing.
Okay. So Angelina's response is, there are tons of facts proven by religion and doctrine. It is nice to support and advocate that, because there are a lot of people who don't believe in religion, and it sometimes aligns with science. Even though some people know, they are still resistant and standing by their own beliefs. There is only so much we can do, but it is worth it to do all that we can. Okay. All right, we move on. Ready to move on?
Yeah.
I got one statement. Hang on.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
Okay, so you guys have heard the statement that God is bound by the doctrine and the principle, or the laws of the universe. He created them. He can't go against them, right?
Right.
So if it's his doctrine that we're trying to study and learn and know, ultimately, isn't it the doctrine that will actually lead us to the scientific reasoning and facts of the universe? Or is it the other way around? It's kind of like the chicken egg theory. Which comes first, the doctrine or the scientific proof?
I think the doctrine.
Doctrine. I agree.
I would have to say I agree with that.
Your mother?
It's the doctrine and the
But I
principles.
think the world thinks differently. They think science. They think science. They want the hardcore. They want the facts, you know. And sometimes the doctrine's not always like that. It's faith.
Yeah.
So I guess ultimately it becomes, who are you going to listen to as the master of the universe?
It's true.
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready to move on?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. If you were to pick a side on the Common Core debate strictly based on the information from evaluating research, which one would you pick and why?
Don't get me started.
That was so hard for me. I literally could not put my biases away just because I had been an elementary education major before I was a what's it called again? A CD major. And so for me, I got so much exposure to Common Core where I have too many bad experiences with it. So I literally could not put my biases away. And that was pretty horrible to say, but like, I admit it.
Well, just in answering the question, I would go against Common Core just from the document that we watched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
I agree.
just straight up answering the question. Yeah, it made no sense to me why they were trying to do what they were trying to do. But then I had to ask myself, why
That's
are
true.
we even watching something like this when we're discussing research and all that kind of stuff? So obviously there's got to be a lesson in, is it good research, bad research? Is it opinion? Is it fact? Where's the data? You know, all that kind of stuff.
So Common Core is actually supposedly all based on research, and how Common Core was presented to the politicians was, this is done so good. This is all the statistics from all around the world. This is going to help our education system, and all our politicians are not like teachers. They're not family advocacy majors. They're not majors. Degrees or they just saw this is the numbers, this is where we want to go, so this must be a good way to go, when in all reality they didn't do the deep digging. That's a little bit of a background for you guys. So and it's based it's supposed to be based on all research, and I don't think the researchers were trying to, I don't know, I'm sure they had a bias. I think they were just trying to do what they were trying to do, but in the end, they made it so much more complicated for students that it's ridiculous. And teachers even. And it also stinks too because most of our governmental testing is all based on research. And that's how the government functions on how to pay what schools what.
Yeah.
Welcome to No Child Left Behind.
So awful.
I thought it was interesting that they were trying to turn all of the kids and everything into cookie cutters. They were trying to just make, you know, the whole
Robot, practically.
Yeah, the robot syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is horrible. That makes me so sad. We're all different. So.
Yeah. It's pretty, and not only that, you're discouraging other students who know how to solve a problem one way and know how to solve it correctly. But when they get the problems done, like, have you guys ever seen Common Core math? Let me just go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have. Okay.
All right, my kids bring it home. We live in Idaho. It's here.
Yeah, so it's pretty repulsive to me, just because it doesn't make any sense, and it discourages my little sister, who is absolutely quick as a whip, because she can get it one way, but if she doesn't get the 9 other ways that they're showing, she fails the test, which doesn't make any sense to me, because she knows how to get the right answer.
Yeah.
Not the way the
Sure,
teacher
in a
tells her. That's so sad.
Yeah.
Not to beat the dead horse of Common Core, let's go back to the question of that we're supposed to answer.
Hannah, could you repeat it?
Yeah, because I totally even forgot the question. I just went on my Common Core rampage. If you were to pick a side on the Common Core debate, strictly based on what information from evaluating research, which would you pick and why? And it sounded that everyone said that they would be against Common Core.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now the question is, why do we decide that? From the research article that we use, not from the Common Core presentation. From the research article, why do we decide that Common Core is not what we want?
Didn't someone say cookie cutters?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Wasn't that Rich?
Yep.
Why did you say that, Rich?
Just because from the presentation, I didn't feel like the presentation offered a solution for me. It was really I felt the whole presentation was biased in and of itself. Yeah, it had some pros and cons. It had this side and that side and whatever, but it wasn't trying to allow me to make up my own mind about Common Core. It already had its agenda.
Truth.
Does that make sense? And I felt swayed. I felt anti-Common Core because of that documentary or whatever.
Yeah.
And so therefore I felt like it was if I could use the term bad research, because that's part of our week discussion board,
Right.
I felt it was kind of bad research because it wasn't leading me to make my own decision.
Yeah, you're making me think of, like, you know how a lot of times, like, with your friends, hey, what do you guys want to do? Okay, well, we can do this, or we could do this. Where really they're giving you 2 options, but the way that they share it, like in their like voice and in the way that they react to it, you can tell where the bias is coming from, like what side that they really want. Do you know what I'm talking about? That's kind of what you're reminding me of, Rich, a little bit.
Yeah.
Is how they shared both sides, but you still felt like it was a little biased. And
Yeah.
how it was bad research.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct or no?
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready to move on?
Anything else from Mandy, Courtney, Nicole, anybody?
No, I think we got it.
Okay.
Yes.
So the next question is, do you think that much of Common Core curriculum ignores impractical based developmentally appropriate practices for children? Why or why not? Oh my, yes, it totally ignores, like, the practical side of children. They just think that children can work for 8 hours a day being completely on task when really, in reality, that's horrible for children. Not only that, you have to allow for lull periods. They can only be on, like, especially if you're doing, like, kindergartners, they can only be on task for what? 20 minutes at a time?
If
You're
that,
talking
they're really
kindergartens.
focused.
I got kindergartens that can only go 10 minutes.
yeah.
So it's not
Okay,
age
their dad
appropriate.
can't go very long. Sorry, I'll be quiet.
Okay.
How's that typing coming, Rich? You doing
I'm not
okay?
typing. I'm taking notes.
Oh, look at you! That's good.
I'll type later when you guys don't have to wait for me to type.
There you go.
I'll just be up till 4 o'clock in the morning doing it.
Oh no!
Y'all feel good about that?
Rich, no!
I'm teasing.
Okay.
It'll be some good. It'll be some good couple time. My wife will type it for me.
Oh, there you go.
Good typer.
Yeah.
Or we
Okay,
finish that.
restate the question because we only got one response, so nobody else heard it. Then
Oh, sorry. I just scrolled down to the last question. Do you think that much of Common Core curriculum ignores impractically based developmentally appropriate practices for children? Why or why not?
I think it gives children only like one way of learning things. They don't allow the kids to learn how they learn best because everyone has a different way they learn. I feel like.
I agree, Mandy.
I think it forces.
Sorry, Hannah or Courtney. My bad.
It forces people to like. There's like a child's success has to be measured against another child's success, but when they don't learn different ways and when they express things differently, then I don't know. I think that's a big issue too, just like with all of the testing and I don't know, a lot of the way that we learn, I guess. It's different and it doesn't work with the traditional system.
so not all success is created equal.
Yeah. Yep.
I've never heard that before. Not all success is created equal. Interesting. Makes sense.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I like it. Can you
I don't
back
have
it up
any
with
facts
any
for that.
Yeah. Do you have any facts for that?
Yeah.
Actually, I can give you this story.
Okay.
I learned this story when I was a little boy. It's called The Three Little Pigs.
There you go.
They all built a house, right? So
Yeah.
weren't they all successful at building houses?
Yeah.
But not all houses were created equal, right?
That's true. Good point.
There you go.
I like it.
I'm full of theology.
All right, we ready
All
for
right.
the next one?
Yep,
Is
let's
this the
do
last
it.
one?
This is the second to last one.
Number next.
Number next is what have you learned from the cultural imperialism about persuasive function of research and science in creating cultural change? I think this was the video that made me the most mad. Like, for me, it was just like, you know, our leaders, they have the information from their paid government offices, like the Bureau of Health, and they show how unhealthy it is for two men to have sex and how much of the population it gets affected. But because of their own agenda, they're putting so many people at risk and willing to put other countries who rely on our aid and our like resources into even greater risk.
So the
And so
problem
it
is pride.
Oh my gosh, yes!
Pride is the worst thing ever. It destroys everything.
Yeah. And I really liked how this Jamaican, the Jamaican attorney, I didn't get her name, but she was fantastic. I loved her. She just spoke my mind. I loved how she said, we stand against
Preaching
violence.
sister.
Seriously! She's like, we stand against violence to anybody in the community. We really stand against violence. At the same time, it does not mean we have to accept the lifestyles of others. And I love that because you know what? It's true. We don't have to. We need to stand up for people's basic rights, but that doesn't mean we have to agree with what they're doing. And we don't have to accept that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I think that has to do a lot with what people think like marriage today. That like people are gay, and you can accept that that's how they feel, but that doesn't mean that it's okay. Like that doesn't mean you have to believe it. I guess I don't know. That's what it reminds me of.
It's the whole opinion versus fact deal.
Yep.
The agenda is the opinion, the data of Uganda and their lowering of their own HIV problem over the last 15, 20 years or whatever it was, and yet the opinion is so biased, the pride is so big, they miss the results, they miss the data, they miss the actual, here's how the problem needs to be solved.
It's true. It's true. Are we ready for the very last question?
Let's do it.
Okay. What lessons have you learned to make you more skillful in combating your chosen topic or threat? And I just realized what this was asking, and I totally answered the question wrong. I don't know why. I thought we was talking about like the threats in the videos, not the threat that we've been working on.
Yeah.
So in other words, don't copy and paste your answer.
Don't copy and paste my answer on this one.
Alright.
But I think it's interesting, like kind of looking back at my answer now. Like, my answer doesn't have anything to do with what I said, but I kind of started thinking about how we're always told that we need to accept the that the gay and lesbian community needs to be married, and everyone's talking. And like for me, even when I was in high school and this was going down, I could see that this was going to affect religion. And I had people all the time, this is never going to affect religion. And at that same time, when I was told that, I like tend to feel more uncomfortable with sharing my opinion. And so like I would shut down more. I wouldn't speak out at my opinion because I knew I would get all this flack. So why should I just speak my mind? And then I realized that's kind of taking away one of my amendments. And when people come and say, you know what, they're like, well, religion's going to be protected because we have the amendments. Well, obviously, that just got proven wrong because I already feel not safe to even express my view without getting some sort of flack. Or, like, I remember when Prop 8 was happening and I was living in California, we got so much vandalism done to our own house because we were saying we were yes on 8. And it was so scary because some nights we thought somebody would just come in with a gun and like start shooting our house. And really, it just comes down to also respecting each other. It's okay if you have a different opinion than me. I know that people are going to have different opinions than me. But it also comes down to respecting those other opinions and also respecting the rights of others. I don't know if that all just made sense. It's a little loopy, so.
Hannah, you don't seem that loopy. You seem like you're doing great.
I took it a little bit ago. So.
You're on fire, Hannah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've had to deal with this conversation so many different times. And it's almost ridiculous because a lot of people get so mad at me. I'm just like, well, you're imposing on my rights when you're telling me I have to believe this way. And they're like, no, I'm not. And I'm like,
Just did.
you just did.
Yeah.
You just seriously just did.
Yeah. So wait, what is your threat then, Hannah?
Mine's on the family with mental illness. So with me, it'd be just making sure that you have good facts, because a lot of the mental illness facts out there are pretty swayed, and everyone's mental illness is different. So like my stuff is different from whoever else's stuff out there. And so you have to kind of be careful on what advice you're giving to families too. Because if you're going to say you need to get on medication, probably medication's probably one of the worst things that you could do for somebody if they have like a drug addiction, because a lot of the drugs that they give you are narcotics. Like really heavy narcotics. So it just makes me want to kind of be more knowledgeable in the drug industry before I like even make a suggestion to a family to evaluate the entire situation rather than just on one experience.
I agree. I like that because it's funny how many times one experience can ruin everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So when we're advocating, we have to always look big picture, take our eyes off of our own personal opinions, respect the other person,
Agreed.
and at the same time fight for what we believe in.
Which is hard to do all at the same time.
Yeah.
You got to be like practically perfect. But it's
Yeah.
possible.
You have to be like Christ.
I was gonna say that.
It's like walking the straight and narrow path. There's only one way you can do it, and it's really hard to do it. But if you do it, you will. I mean, some people you will ruffle their feathers, but in the end, they'll respect you more rather than just think you're a terrible person. That's what I found. I don't know if that's truth or anything, but that is what I found.
Well, if you ruffle feathers while you're still loving somebody, what do they remember the most?
The love.
They may think and wonder why you think the way you do, but they'll still know you care about them.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned through this whole process is just seeing the big picture and loving the other person, even though they may think differently, act differently than I do.
Mm-hmm. It's putting others before yourself, really.
Oh, hey, Angelina just sent us something. It says, I liked how you brought up the drug addiction thing, especially with medication. The clinic where I am interning at right now are opening a Alcoholics Anonymous / support group for patients in pain management to avoid drug addictions. Oh, cool.
That's really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Sorry, I
love
just
when Angelina puts like her little
I know.
chat.
I don't
thing.
know.
It's great.
Sorry, I didn't know if I was supposed to read that or not. I just thought she posted, and so I felt like I needed to share.
You know, I'm becoming more and more convinced that Angelina's voice sounds like Hannah.
Uh-huh.
Something like
Angelina, you're just becoming me now. I'm sorry.
that. There you go.
No, she's got her own opinions. That's why she's typing them in there. It's nice to be able to have somebody read them so we all can get them and hear them, and
Yeah, it's nice.
it's just another benefit and blessing to our group, and the ability of our group to share with each other, I think.
I agree.
All right, we are summary time.
Perfect. Do you want to do that for us, Rich?
Any summary statements before I have a whack at it?
I feel like we kind of just did that in a weird way. I feel like
We were
Rich
very-
just kind of did that.
Yeah, basically, we were very biased in certain opinions with all of that. We talked about Common Core, the destroying of the family, drugs. Yeah.
So here's what I think for our summary statement, as we've discussed all of these topics tonight, and as everybody's put in valuable input and feedback and conversation and discussion here. As we advocate, as we research, as we interact with other people, we have to be, number one, we have to be willing to see past our own agendas, be willing to listen to others with our hearts, because they have needs just like we do, and their needs to them are just as important as our needs are to us. And so we have to see them as individuals, not as objects. We have to be able to, in a Christ-like way, love them regardless of what they believe, and then in a loving and kind way help them understand through the Spirit, because that's the ultimate teacher. Through the Spirit, help them understand why we feel the way we feel. And even though that may be our opinion, or like Mariah said earlier on in our discussion tonight, maybe that's our testimony. That testimony will then be planted in them, whether it's an opinion to them or knowledge to us. They will chew on it, and they will chew on it, and they will ultimately, potentially, plant that seed for themselves, and advocacy then becomes the nurturing of a testimony or a knowledge of one more benefit, blessing, concept, or ultimately fact and truth which is the doctrine that we were discussing earlier on. That's all I got.
Woo! I love that.
Yay!
Now, if somebody has a tape recorder, can play that back to me, I'll just type that up and send it in.
Hey, Rich,
'Cause
this
none of
is
that's
recorded.
written down.
This is recorded. You could watch it on YouTube.
Oh, man, that's good. It'll probably take me 3 hours to go find it.
No, because I post it on our board every week so that the
there you
teacher
go.
can
Ah,
watch it.
there we go.
Look at that.
Yep.
All right. Are
Okay.
we done?
Sounds good, guys.
I
we'll
think
see you
so,
next
unless anybody
week.
else got anything else.
No.
All right.
All right.
See y'all at
ya.
Walmart
Bye,
next
guys.
week.
Bye.
See ya.